Hi there, thank you. I see there's no one in the front seat, so you're obviously all scared of GRC people. That's okay. That's okay. Yeah, thank you very much to the CrikeyCon team for having me through here today. This is the first time I've presented live on stage for about 3 years from before COVID hit. So it's quite exciting for me. Very excited to be back on stage. Use a Walkie Talkie to look good. So hopefully this will resonate with a few people. My name is Alan Baranov. I'm a manager level consultant at CyberCX. Just a little bit of a disclaimer. I am a consultant, but I'm not consulting right now. You guys aren't paying me. So all of this is just general advice. And I'm not trying to sell you anything. That's why I've got my own personal laptop here, not my work laptop. If you want to reach out to me, that's where you can do it. And I'm very, very busy on Twitter all the time. So I'll leave this up a little bit later so that you can click through. That's the easiest way for you to get hold of me. Just scan that and be done. And if any of you are doing that, then I'm sorry I just fished you. No, I didn't. That's actually genuinely, that takes you to my LinkedIn address, I promise. That's pretty much it. I'm going to be giving some examples from my past life. You may try to guess what companies it relates to. You'll probably be wrong because I've squashed them all together. So please don't do that. Please just be aware that everything here is fictional, except where it isn't. Jumping into the slide, which actually looks quite terrible. I don't know how that happened. What is going on? Okay, that's a technical glitch. Oh, okay, it looks terrible on this screen. All right, going through the list here, this is apparently the coolest careers in cyber. Just a show of hands, who's number one? Threat hunter? Or, as I've heard it, thrunter. Okay, there's a thrunter. Red teamer, which I'm assuming is quite a few people. No, okay. Forensic analyst. Okay, careful of those people. Purple teamer. No purple teamers. Purple room, no purple teamers. I have no idea what that says. We'll skip over it. CISO? Any CISOs here? Okay, I'll give you my CV. Blue teamers? Any blue teamers? Okay, someone waving from the back there. Good. There's a couple. Okay, no, that's fine. If you have a look at this list, in terms of the coolest careers in cyber, you'll find that GRC is, wait for it. It's not on the list at all. There is no GRC stuff here at all. So I guess basically the CrikeyCon team made a big mistake by inviting a GRC person to speak to you all. So that's on them. That's not my fault. So GRC, it doesn't really make sense. Governance, risk, and compliance, we do it. There is compliance that people need to do. But if I had more time, I would go through why each of those doesn't really make sense to me. And why GRC is seen as boring, because like a lot of people just think tick boxes, or get a list and, oh, well, you haven't done this, tough luck, go and do it. But I like to think that it's more exciting than that. Probably not, but it could be. And that's what I'm trying to present, and this is kind of my way of hopefully changing the world a bit. So I've come up with a term called BizSec, which I'm hoping will some sort of replace GRC. The idea being business security, so security working with the business. The way I kind of introduce it is it's like DevOps. So DevOps is all of a sudden realizing that IT is there to serve the business and that the business itself is what makes the money and the IT is just there to help it along. And security is kind of the same sort of thing. I do not like the term DevSecOps. because that kind of almost says security is squashed in between development and operation. It just doesn't make sense. And it's become a technical term as well for like a CI/CD pipeline and all of those sort of things, which is fine. They can keep it. So this is what I kind of think is my term. So nice one, Alan. You came up with a term, but now what do you recommend we do about it? So I did a talk previously for AISA, where I go through what I call the more essential 8. So starting with a little bit of a disclaimer, I like the essential 8. It's really good. I really recommend any organization take a look at it. It's well thought out, well done. But there's more essential stuff. So the essential 8 is just really a lot of technical controls. Each and every single one of those is a control that you can do that works technically. But I've got some kind of things that I've picked up through my career and thought, oh, hang on a sec, these are probably also things that people should know about. Let me just pause for a second. So when I was making these slides and putting this talk together, I usually go through 3 different phases. So the first phase is come up with an idea. Second phase is research and find everything and just throw it all into the slide deck. And number 3 is put it all together into a kind of narrative that makes sense with a beginning, a middle, and an end. I never got to part 3. I'm sorry about that. I ran out of time. So this is just everything thrown at you. So hopefully you'll pick up something. And if you're hoping for me to get to something where it says, and then finally they lived happily ever after, we're not getting there. That's not what the purpose of this talk is. This is the rabbit hole. We're going through a rabbit hole here. So these are my kind of more essential 8. So do everything, risk is not your friend, blinking lights, plan your dive your plan. I'm not going to go through all of these. I have done a talk that it unfortunately isn't available online, and I'm going to rectify that as soon as I possibly can. But when I did the talk, I didn't actually go through each of these in as much depth as I'd like. And so what I've been doing since then with my other talks that I've done, is go through each of these. And today, I kind of settled on use a Walkie Talkie to look good, and we'll get to that eventually once I get through all the other stuff. All right. Okay. So that's supposed to be one. Okay. So this is just really looking at the real world. Even it's good to use the real world for analogies because people understand the real world. That like IT can become quite technical and quite bogged down in the details, whereas people understand the real world. But on top of that, there's also this kind of growing idea that IT mirrors the real world or should mirror the real world. And I suppose this is a good slide to look at when we talk about the should. Because what you have here is the design on the right-hand side, what the people who were putting these paths together decided that where they wanted people to walk. And yet everyone just decided to cut the corner because obviously they want to save a little bit of time, and that's fine for them. And I guess the takeaway from this is, a couple of things. Number one, you might have an idea of what people want to do, but if you don't speak to them and don't get an idea of what they want to do, they'll go ahead and do it anyway. The other thing is what this is called is a desire path. And one organization, a university, actually decided they're not going to put any paths. They're just going to leave it open. They'll grass everything. And then eventually what happened was people walked where they decided to walk and trampled on the grass, and eventually paths were made, and that's where they bricked up and used. So maybe the takeaway here is to introduce a system and then work with your users over time to be able to see what it is that they want to do. Maybe the question that you're asking now is, okay, that's fine for IT, but what does that mean for security? Security is the same thing now. I don't know if anyone has, just out of interest, has anyone actually ever seen this picture before? I love it. Everybody. Okay, yeah, because this is the most cliched slide I've ever seen, and I decided that I would use it in every single presentation from now on. So here it is. What you'll usually see is this slide is given to you by a salesperson who says every single technical solution that's out there is rubbish, everyone just bypasses it, but our technical solution is going to prevent that from happening. And then the next year, basically, the same thing happens with the next technology. But the point of the matter is that it's not a technical solution here. Because if you have a look at it, the technology is there, it's working fine, it's great. It's a process. People want to get around that, and they will. And so I guess if you're going to put any security controls in place that's going to stop someone from doing their job, they're going to fail in some way. People will hack their way through whatever it is that you're going to be doing. Norman doors. So the idea of a Norman door is, okay, hands up here, anyone who has ever used a door before? Okay, few hands. Not on that side, but on that side I'm seeing quite a few people. The thing about a door is you've been using it your entire life, you should absolutely know how to use it. And if there is a door that you do not know how to use, it's designed badly, it's on them. So doors like this, where they've got a kind of handle that looks like you should pull it, and it really is a push door, that's a problem. And it's called a Norman door, and absolutely should not exist. Other things to know, this is just a quote from Larry Wall that I really like. Easy things should be easy, hard things should be possible. That's the philosophy behind Perl. Whatever you feel about Perl, I can tell you that it is a wonderful language to get started with. You can even do some really incredible stuff just on the command line without even doing any programming. So that's just something, just a quote that I liked and like to keep in mind when it comes to design. Yeah, a couple of interesting design flaws. So wherever you see a sticky note or a note stuck on anything, that's a problem. That's a design flaw. And yeah, so the one on the left is my favorite one. This is not a dustbin, it's actually a speaker. The other one says, this is not a door. It's like, looks like a door. But yeah, and then the one on the top there, I don't know if you can see it very well. So basically, it's a price list which is on a TV, all done digitally, and then they've changed the price by putting a sticker over the TV itself. I feel for those people, because they probably paid like a lot of money to get the TV, a lot of money to get all that stuff stuck up, and then they realize that it's going to cost them a lot of money every time they need to change the price, so they just stuck a sticky note up. Same thing as your, people in your companies. They go to IT and they say, hey, we need a solution. IT say, oh, okay, yeah, it's going to take us 6 to 12 months to put that solution together. And they're like, we don't have 6 to 12 months for your solution. And so they come up with some other way. And that's pretty much what you'll find in a lot of big organizations. This is absolutely the worst design thing I've ever seen. This is British Rail. I have no idea if this is real, but it sounds real, and I'm very sorry for them. There's a sign on how to do it. To open the door, wait for the sign, door unlocked, and then open the window and use the outside handle to open the door. Please close the door and window after use. That's ridiculous. And then basically there's another thing here that says, in the interest of energy, please make sure that you close the door after use. So there's like a door, which, as we've kind of seen most of you, except for them, have used. And it should be obvious how to use a door. But there's a sign, and then not only is there a sign, there's another sign talking about that sign. So that's like 3 levels, and apparently if you do stick, I mean, this is in London, so like if you do stick your hand outside the window, it is going to get wet. I don't know, like there must be a better way to do things. So these should all be reset. So some of the pain that you're going to come through as a security person if you don't abide by all of these kind of design things. This cartoon, hands up everyone, anyone who's seen this? You should appreciate the fact that I'm making you do a lot of exercise. It's so good. Like upper body exercise, awesome. It's my pleasure. So I absolutely hate this cartoon. It's terrible. It's kind of elitist. It doesn't solve anything. I have a story. So basically, if you have a look at this guy, Dave, I was trying to think, okay, well, he's obviously someone that's in the organization. If he is really bad, still, there must be some reason why he's still in the organization. So I was thinking, what if he's a salesperson? He might be terrible at computers, but he is the most brilliant salesperson ever. He's bringing in half the company's money. And now you are going to make his life absolute hell. One of two things is going to happen. Either Dave is going to leave and the company is going to lose all its money, or alternatively, Dave is going to bypass every single thing that you throw at him, even the things that will probably be very, very important. So that's that. The other thing is, just something just to think about. The other thing is if you are trying to be in the process, be within the process, and essentially you're setting yourself up for Groundhog Day. So if you are doing, say, your monthly patches, if you're involved in the monthly patching process, that's the wrong place for a security person to be. They should be outside the process, because otherwise each month you're going to come and it's going to be a mission to get those patches installed, and then once they're installed, it's next month, and it happens all over again. What you need to understand is, what is the process of patching and how can we make that better each and every single time? So you might be doing the process, but each time you do the process, at the end, you should have a kind of realization, okay, hang on a sec, this month went better than last month because of X, Y, and Z. Let's do more of that, or less of whatever it was that was delaying the process. The other thing that people might do, shadow IT. I've seen examples of this, and it pretty much comes from, again, if you are blocking someone being able to do their job, and when I say being able to do their job, not only their job as it is today, but they will look at their competitors, they will look at how other organizations are doing things, and then won't want to copy them in 6 months' time, because those organizations will be somewhere else in 6 months' time. They will want to be doing it now. So if you can't actually go and get that person doing exactly what it is that they need to do now, they'll do it anyway, and you just won't ever know about it. All right, so processes. So this is the image that I thought was perfect for CAB. Because it looks great. I know I think it was Jasmine's talk earlier, the whole idea of the pieces are bigger than altogether are bigger than the individual parts. Which is the whole idea of CAB, is let's get together and we'll take all the different pieces and put it together and everything will be great. The problem is, CAB is terrible. Hands up anyone that loves CAB. Oh, good. Okay. So the idea being, like, CAB is there to stop risk from happening. Someone does something, breaks someone else's stuff. That's okay. You should either make sure that someone doing something here does not break something there, which is not always possible, but also, if it breaks, fix it. That's what you're there for. You're not there to stop things from breaking. You're there to fix stuff that does break when it does break. I better get off that slide because I can speak for hours. And then some other security failures that will come of that. It doesn't look very easy to read, but I'll go through them anyway. Password rotation, which we've been doing since the 1970s, because apparently in the 1970s it was the best way to do stuff. and no one actually ever queried that until someone did. Same thing with mobile phones on airplanes. Basically, everyone just assumed, okay, airplane mode. In fact, it's called airplane mode for a reason. It's because that's what you do when you get on an airplane. Until someone actually queried, why do we do this? And no one could actually come up with an answer. So now you can use your mobile phone on an airplane. Stress, this was an interesting one. They did a study that people actually go and bypass security controls when they're more stressed. It doesn't matter whether they need it or not, and it doesn't matter what they're trying to do. It's just like, if they are having a bad day, they will just not do the security controls. So the question for you then is like, hang on a sec, how can I make someone less stressed so that the controls that they do, the important ones, they actually do? And then this was just a quote that I got from an article which really was hurt me at an atomic level. Like a rock will swim around you, and that's true. Like literally, if someone's not being able to do their job, like a rock, they will swim around you. So that's that. ERP systems. So ERP system, for those that don't know, is basically your enterprise system. It's what drives the entire organization. I'm not saying it's a virus. I'm not saying it's a virus. But it kind of has certain qualities. It gets into your organization, it spreads everywhere, and then basically you have a problem. So read into that what you want to. Obviously, ERP systems are important, but they're very, very difficult. So when an organization decides that they want an ERP system, they put it in, and they put in their production system. So obviously they're going to need something really powerful to run ERP, because it does everything. The whole company is running off it, right? They put some networking in place. They obviously put a DR system in place, because if that thing falls over, the entire company stops working. That's not usually good for a company. And then basically it gets quite confusing. No one knows exactly what everything does, what every piece does, all of that sort of stuff. And that's, again, where CAB comes in. CAB is like the solution to that, but we won't go into that because I'm not feeling very good about that. So what you then do, of course, is your business changes, and the world changes. It gets hopefully bigger and stuff like that. So whatever you put in on day one is not obviously going to be what you want on day two. So you're then going to have a development environment. Now, obviously, you're going to need a different development environment for each developer, so that they don't break everything. So we've got production, we've got DR, say about 5 dev environments. Obviously, then you're going to want your testers to go through everything, because if there's a logic flaw somewhere in there, it's going to break stuff. So maybe you have a QA environment, maybe you have 2 QA environments, maybe you have 3 QA environments, who knows. And then, of course, you have BAU. So that's where your support team kind of log into the system and check to make sure that things are working and your users are happy, etc. Now, number one, you need to keep all these environments identical, because otherwise you're going to have an issue. And trust me, that's impossible. But that's your different layers that you have there, kind of layers of a cake. I hope that made sense. Speaking of really terrible analogies. Then, of course, in each one of those different environments, you've got your app, which is the actual ERP system itself. That's running on an operating system. It communicates with a database. And then, of course, you've got a glue which holds it all together. In the case of Oracle, which is one that I've had quite a bit of experience with, you've got your Oracle ERP running on Oracle Linux or Red Hat or something like that, I can't remember. Database, obviously, in this case would be Oracle, because they make a good database, and the glue that holds it all together would be Java. But there's a few of these, so like your SAP, etc. Now, this is where it gets fun. Patch all the things. So every 3 months, Oracle come out with their patches. Now you'll know that, patch Tuesday, exploit Wednesday. So you need to get that stuff done ASAP. You have an operating system to patch, you have a database to patch, you have an application to patch, you have Java to patch in all of those different environments. And I'm sorry, Mr. CISO, but that must just really hurt. So I showed this to my tech team at work, and they were like, well, how do you do that? And my answer to them is, I have absolutely no idea. I'm so sorry, but that is one of the things that I just wanted to show you, that understanding the business can show you the issues. So basically, that's kind of it. But it's not quite it. So I've shown you all the issues, I've shown you all the problems, and I'm expecting that everyone's kind of sitting here thinking like, okay, well, when is he actually going to get to, the solutions? And as I said to you, I didn't get to that. But I have put a few things together, so hopefully this will help. Number one. Okay, so, this is the fancy slide. Let me just get that going. So the question for you then is what does that mean? And I don't speak Japanese, so hopefully if someone does speak Japanese, I've got the right thing that came from Wikipedia, so if there's any issues, just speak to them. All right. And then the gent on the side there is the third Vice President of the US, Mr. Aaron Burr. And the question I guess everyone's asking is, what do those have in common? And the answer is absolutely nothing. I just like the picture. But he also, in Hamilton, sings a song about the room where it happened. And so Genchi Gumbutsu is that concept where I always say, and I've been doing talks like this for ages, and always end it with basically, if the most dangerous thing an organization can face is their security person sitting behind their desk. That's it. That's basically it. If you're not walking around talking to the business, seeing what is going on, you're losing the fight. An example of this is I got brought into a piece of work. The CISO was trying to kickstart his ideas of what he should be doing. And he thought, okay, I must get an enterprise architect. And because I've done SABSA, apparently that qualifies me to be an enterprise architect. Enterprise architect is basically a guy who gets, or woman, who gets hired for 3 years to put a 5-year plan together. So he's got no risk whatsoever. It's wonderful. He'll be gone long before anyone actually realizes that he did a bad job, or her. So that's an enterprise architect. I got brought in and basically said to the CISO, we're going to need to speak to the business. And he's like, well, okay, if you say so, if we have to. So we went down to one of the sites and spoke to them, and they've got critical information, it's medical information. And I spoke to one of the nurses there, and I said, hey, listen, what do you do? And we went through the whole process, and I said, well, how do you know when you have to do it, what you have to do, et cetera, et cetera? And she said to me, oh, yeah, no, that's fine. We just check, there's like a file share that we go through, and it's got all the details, and it's got all our workflows and all of that sort of stuff. I'm like, that's great. What happens if the line goes down? She says, that's no problem. It's sitting under my desk. I'm like, wait, what? If we didn't go on site, if we didn't speak to her, maybe he would have found out about that server. Probably not, and not for a long time. And that enabled us to actually get quite a bit of stuff done, and then we got a full audit going of all their stuff. This one's also a fancy one. Okay, so this term Gemba, it's just another term for Genshu Gumbutsu. Again, going where it happens, speaking to the people, finding what their processes are, finding out what it is. For example, sometimes stuff cannot get patched. It's just impossible. So what do you do in that particular case? And let me give you the answer. The answer is you're a clever person, you work it out because that's what you're paid for. You're not paid to patch each month because anyone can do that. You're paid to make plans and make things happen. I don't even remember what the slide was all about. Let me check my notes. Okay, yeah, so this one was just based on what Jasmine was talking about earlier, just the idea of environmental awareness. And again, if anyone, I like to talk about the business, and I like to talk about IT, and I like to talk about security, but at the end of the day, if you start using terms like that, the business are the people that are paying you. They're not your enemy. They're actually you. They who you need to. They're your client, your customer. And at the end of the day, you need to understand what it is that they're doing. So if you are creating policies and procedures and standards and stuff, and you find that they're not being followed, there's a good reason, because you haven't spoken to the people. You haven't got their buy-in. Again, situational awareness. I really, really enjoyed that talk and learned a lot from it. And I think that just understanding the culture of your company can really, really help you to at least kick a few goals. All right, another fancy slide. So this one is just kind of a bonus. It doesn't fit in the theme really. I just liked to put this in again. Also, I did make a promise to someone that I'll always put a slide that says reticulate splines in it. And the Japanese doesn't say that. The Japanese actually is the word kaizen, which is like, I hope, is what it says, which is the idea of iteratively improving things over time. I'm very bad like that. Usually I will make something and then forget about it and go find something totally different to do. But yeah, it's just the idea of get something going and then just build on it, build on it, build on it, build on it. In IT, we usually like to do big projects and get them out and done. Security is pretty much the same, because you get the enjoyment of seeing it go live. And finally, this Japanese name, which I haven't put the English version of it, is basically KonMari. In most organizations, what you'll find is that when people get into an organization, it's through the Windows 2000 server, or it's through a server that no one actually knows about and shouldn't have existed in the first place. I did some work where we virtualized a whole bunch of servers. Now, the first thing we did was look for the owners of those servers so we could get their permission to virtualize them. And yeah, it was quite interesting, because 2 or 3 of we couldn't track down the owners of them. So eventually, after doing a whole bunch of stuff, backing them up, blah, 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 we unplugged the servers, and no one complained at all. Nobody. They were not being used. So they were sitting there, they were being patched, they had antivirus running on them, user management against them, yada, 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 et cetera, we were working to protect servers that didn't even need to exist in the first place. So that's just something that, if you can understand your business, you can just get rid of the junk. And that pretty much is it. I think I've probably run out of time. I'm just going to end with this slide here. So again, I promise you it's safe. You can click on it. I don't think there's time for questions.
We don't, because we're a little bit over, but you've kind of just blown my mind, the fact that you did a whole presentation in Excel. I've never seen that happen before. The fancy slides at the end, the flames and the matrix, A+.